Hi, it's Kathy from Bishopstone Yarns, and this is the Bishopstone Yarns podcast, and I am coming to you from Tasmania, which is the little island to the south of Australia, and at the moment you find me in the corner of my studio. And if you're looking for me on the internet at all, you can find me on Facebook as Bishopstone Yarns. You can find me on Instagram as Facebook. No, you can't. On Instagram, you can find me as Bishopstone Yarns. On Ravelry, you can find me as Bishopstone. And I also have a blog on Blogger called Bishopstone Yarns, which I've only just recently started reposting. I hadn't been putting things up there for a while, but then now I've got round to putting some more posts up there. And yeah, I think that's all the places where you can find me. And as I was saying, my name is Kathy, and I'd like to welcome you all here. If you're a returning viewer, hi, how are you? It's great to see you again. So nice that you have popped back to have a little bit of a chat with me, see what I've been up to. If you're a new viewer, welcome. It's really nice to see you, and I hope that you enjoy your time here as I talk a bit about my crafting and what I've been making. And this is a mainly spinning podcast at the moment. Every 2 weeks I do a knitting and sewing kind of podcast, and then the other fortnight I do a mainly spinning podcast. So of course this is the mainly spinning podcast, and just talking a bit about my spinning and what I've been up to. I think that's about it really in terms of introductions. And so I'd like to say welcome to everyone. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. That would be great. Just kind of helps me out here in this area of the YouTubes in terms of, I don't know, helps YouTube with their whatever it is that they do, how they promote their videos or whatever. Yeah. So for those returning viewers, I have finally finished. You will have seen my Birkin before, but I have finally finished my Birkin, and here it is. Last time I was just up to doing the cuffs, so I have finished everything now, and I am really happy with it. Like I was saying before, the yoke here is a little bit lower than I would have thought. I would have hoped that the yoke had finished up a little bit higher, maybe about here. But then again, I guess because when I spun up everything for this this jumper, I spun up enough to spin a white version of this with a coloured yoke. When I do that one, I think I might go down a needle size in the yoke area just to make it a bit smaller, and then hopefully, because I'm really happy with how the body fits, and I'm really happy with the colours that I dyed. And for those people who are new viewers, you probably won't know that I had spun all this in July during the Tour de Fleece, which is an online spinning event that Ravelry hosts. So during the Tour de France, while they're doing the cycling race, a group of spinners kind of get together and do a whole do spinning every day that they're doing a for every day that they're racing, you do some spinning. So my challenge this year was to spin up enough for the Birkin. So I've spun up enough for the Birkin, for a dark coloured Birkin and a light coloured Birkin. I haven't started the light coloured Birkin yet, but one of the things I wanted to talk about was I had worked out exactly how much yarn I needed. So I think I needed, so look at my little notes here, I needed 1,244 metres of the main colour and 263 metres for the contrast colour for the yoke. And so I had worked that out and had spun up what I thought was enough plus a bit extra left over, so that just in case I needed more yarn. But as you can see from here, I have an awful lot of yarn left over, so I'm not really quite sure how I went so incredibly wrong in terms of trying to gauge the amount of yarn that I needed, because when I scanned this up on my Niddy Noddy, I counted the meters, and I do know that this yarn is a little bit thicker than what they had recommended for the commercial yarn, but I thought I had taken that into account when I in the sizing, when I went to I changed the size a little bit for the pattern, and I thought I had worked it all out, but that's an awful lot of yarn. I can almost knit another jumper with all that yarn that's left over. So I'm not quite sure. I don't know how I went so incredibly wrong. I'm really happy that I had too much and it wasn't the other way, that I ended up with not enough yarn, because that would have been a lot worse. But I'm just amazed that that's the amount of yarn that I ended up with left over. But yeah, and I have to say I'm really happy with the colouring. As you can see here, because I had spun up originally brown, like a light brown, and then had overdyed it blue, you could see kind of there were sections here that are darker, and where it was more brown and than the lighter pieces. But I'm quite happy with it. I'm quite happy that how it all blends in, and I'm quite happy with the colouring, the difference between the colours up in here. The same with the light colour here. I don't know if you can pick that up at all, but there are some sections there that are a little bit browner. Even though this colourway here was done on a lighter base, and then I dyed it. And if you're interested to find out, if you're a new viewer and you're interested to find out about the colours, if you go back probably to the last sit and spin, two sit and spins ago, then I talk about what colours I used and how much dye I used and everything. And then I also talk about the colours that I'm using for the light coloured Birkin as well. So that is the Birkin, which is finished, and I'm really happy for. But I'm also kind of slightly happy that at the moment I don't need to wear it, because we're having some warmer weather, and hopefully, even though actually at the end of this week, and I forgot to say, it is October the 14th, Monday, October the 14th. So at the end of this week, there is going to be some really cold weather. So yes, so I might get a chance to wear it, and I might even get around. Well, depending what the weather's like for the next my next podcast, I might wear it for that. But if it's going to be a hot day, I'm not going to wear it. So yes, I want to wear it, but then I would like it to be a hot day, so I don't want to wear it. But yes, so I was really, really happy. I was happy with how it worked out, and I'm happy with how it spun up. I'm happy how it knitted up, and yeah, just happy all round with it. Actually, I thought I was going to start the light Birkin straight away, but then I thought maybe I should leave it a little bit of time before I start knitting the same jumper. I'm not sure. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to start knitting my second Birkin straight away, or maybe knit something else. I don't know. I'm not sure. But last time on Sit and Spin, I was spinning up some of this. Ooh, if I can show you. Here we go. So this was some merino and silk, And I was spinning that up on my e-spinner, and now I've come to the point where I'm not quite sure. I've got 2 bobbins of I think they're 100 grams each, so I've got 2 of these bobbins of the black and the silk, and it's a bit hard to kind of show you, but there is kind of like a little bit of white silk kind of flecks in there. And what I've been trying to work out is what color to ply with this, and I still haven't quite worked it out yet. I will pause this for a minute and I'll go and grab a few of the colors that I'm thinking of, and yeah, then I'll see if I come to a decision about what I'm going to spin or not. Okay, I am back with a few ideas. So remember, this is quite dark, and I don't really wear, well, I do have one black cardigan, but it's not all black. It has like red, sparkly red through it, and yellow and other colors as well. So I don't actually want to have, I mean, well, I don't know, but I don't know that I would wear just a plain black. Maybe I would if I could find the right pattern for it. I'm not sure. So I mean, I do have some black that I could pair with it, so that would just make it really a really mainly black with a little bit of white silk flecks through it. So I could go with that sort of a combination. I could go with oh, a bit hard to try and get that with a purple or mauvey kind of color, which is one of my favorite colors, with the black. But then I'm thinking it might be too much of a contrast, and when I apply it together it might be a bit too much like a barber pole type effect, which I don't know that I really want to look for, the barber pole kind of effect. The reason I was thinking about that was because I have this yarn here. Ooh, if I can, let me see, is it going to, if I put it behind my hand, I don't know if you can see that well enough or not. So this is one strand of a grey and one strand of a lilac kind of color, and I really like this. This kind of turns out as a really, really lovely yarn combination, and but it's a lot more subtle than if I was to put these 2 colors together. So I'm a little concerned that they might be a little bit too clashing, a little bit too kind of, yeah, I don't want to end up with a big huge barber pole kind of looking yarn. But I do like it when they kind of, the colors are a little bit more muted and they do go together really well, like that one. I do then also have this bag here of greys, which I had got from a D-stash. So there's a lighter grey and a darker grey, and then I could add more of a grey with the dark. So I'm not really quite sure at the moment. I'm kind of wondering whether or not, I mean, whether I want to add a bit of color. I mean, a bit of grey would add, make it lighter. But then I'm also thinking, I don't know, see, even a light blue or something. I don't have any light blue with me at the moment, but that, just trying to think if I had something about this color with it. See, that would look, I think something blue with it would look really nice. But since I've just knitted the Birkin and I've still got all this blue left over, then I'm not really sure that really what I'm looking for is another kind of blue sort of colour. So I'm really unsure what colour, which way to go, what colour to use. I mean, I guess I could think about a green. I don't know. I think I have to think about it for a bit more. Go back and have a look at my stash and see what other colours I have that might be able to go with this, because this yarn here it's a really, really nice yarn. I really like it, and I don't want to lose kind of the properties of it or what I like about it by putting the wrong colour with it. Yeah, anyway, I will sit it there and have a think about it. You can see that actually it catches the light, actually catches the nice silky shine on it. So that's where I'm up to at the moment. And the other thing I could do is I could just start doing a bit of spinning and spin some of the silver or the darker grey, and then see how it looks when I put it together. I could just apply a little bit together and see if I like it. And if I don't like it, then I'll just have to find something else to apply this yarn with. But before I can do any of that, I actually have to, I've got a bobbin on my Major Craft which is full of a bit more of the Morat fleece that I had spun previously, so I'll have to skein that up before I can start thinking about what I'm going to spin next. Maybe while I skein up that last bit, I might come up with an idea of what I am going to spin up. Well, I will talk to you after I've finished skeining up. Before I can get started with any spinning today, I'm going to have to clear off one of my bobbins here. So I've just been spinning up a bit more of my brown fleece. So I thought I'd just get my niddy-noddy out and skein up this last bobbin that I have just recently spun up. This was the last bit of the fleece that I had been working on during Tour de Fleece, and it was part of the Morat fleece that I used for my Birkin. And because I still had a bobbin with a small amount of it on, I thought I'd better just spin up enough to make a skein. And now I've realised that I need this bobbin before I can start spinning again on my singles to ply up with my black mohair and silk that I was spinning last time I was talking to you. So I think I'll just spend a bit of time here winding this up, and I hope everyone is finding a nice quiet time to sit down and do some crafting. And I hope that everyone is well, and that if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, that you're keeping nice and warm, and if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, that you're not too hot. And for those people on the east coast of Australia, I hope you're not too wet. It seems to be that there just seems to be so much rain falling on the east coast of Australia, and just when you think there couldn't possibly be more rain, then there seems to get a huge downpour and more flooding, and yeah, it's just terrible to think that these people are just going from one flood situation to another. And luckily down here where we are in Tasmania, or especially where I am in Tasmania, there aren't any floods. There have been a few floods in the north of Tasmania, but where we are down in the south, in the southern beaches area, there's no floods, and we don't have to worry so much about all the rain that's been coming. We have had a little bit of rain recently, which has been really nice for the garden. We live quite close to the beach, so we're living quite a sandy kind of area, and that means that a lot of the water and the rain just kind of runs away, goes straight through the sand. And so of course it's always nice for the garden to have some rain, and means that I don't have to worry about then having to water the garden. And of course at this time of the year everything is growing so quickly. So we've had some really, really warm days. Warm as in like, I think we were 24, 25, and kind of, I think maybe even 26 or 27 degrees Celsius. But then, of course, there was one day there where it was 24 degrees and it was absolutely lovely. And then it dropped about 10 degrees Celsius in about half an hour, and that was a bit of a shock. And then it rained, and so with all the sunshine and the warmth and the rain, of course everything is growing really quickly in the garden, but it also means that the weeds are growing really quickly as well. For those of you who are gardeners, I think you would understand that it can be a bit of a full-time job trying to keep up with all the weeds. And each time I go and start picking a few weeds, I kind of think I'll just, if I see a few in the garden, I stop to pick them up. But then half an hour later, I'm still finding more weeds and continuing on with what I'm doing. But anyway, for every weed that you pick out of the garden, that's one less that's there. So I guess it's like a lot of things, isn't it? You can start somewhere and keep going, and if you do a little bit at a time, it all helps, and it all kind of helps in the long run, rather than having to race around and do all the weeds at one time, which then ends up being a big, huge job. And I guess we can think about that in a lot of ways. There are a lot of things in life that can be like that if we just spend a little bit of time doing something, just like a little bit, like even if it's like spinning or something. If we just did like 10, 15, 20 minutes a day, then you slowly work your way through a fleece or amount of yarn that you need to create, instead of having to sit down and do it all in one big hit. Oh, and here we are. I have come to the end of the skein. So I can show you a nice, is my camera going to focus? It always takes a little while for the camera to do a bit of a focus. There we are. So this one will need to be tied up, and then of course washed and skeined, but it does give me a nice empty bobbin over here so that I can start with my next spinning project, which I'll show you in a minute. So I'll just stop here and I will show you what I'm hoping to do next with my spinning.